Well, ladies and gentlemen, another great AEW Dynamite episode for October 23rd, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a fucking awesome show. This had a lot of good fillers, of good matches. It had some storyline telling for hyping up the other matches going into it. They had a great main event that ended in such a picture-perfect ending that was grueling, tough, and it just really, you were hoping for one of them to get the win. Unfortunately, neither one of them did. It ended up being a draw between Jon Moxley and Pact, formerly known as Neville. And I got to admit to you guys, that matchup was hard fighting. It was hard grit, very determination, a lot of determination by both men, and my goodness, what a great ending to the show. It also left Jon Moxley with his teeth grinding, saying, "Time limit my ass," and very upset, and also hitting the referee with a Dirty Deeds finisher, which is no longer called the Dirty Deeds. It's called the Death Rider or what have you. I call it the Death Rider because it sounds a lot better than calling it whatever they might be calling it. So, and you can't call it Dirty Deeds because that's the finishing name for Dean Ambrose, which is WWE bullshit. But this is not WWE bullshit. This is not even NXT. This is AEW, the land of wrestling. This is actually wrestling. This is the company I hope puts Vince McMahon out of business because Vince McMahon doesn't know wrestling anymore. This company has taken some of the things that Vince McMahon used to do that were great and made them even better. They made it into a wrestling show. You feel like you're watching an actual sporting event. This feels important. What we get with WWE, we don't get any of that. And NXT, unfortunately, they're tied to WWE, so sorry, but I'm not going to give you any credit because AEW is putting you guys in the meat grinder. And that's because you are just a developmental company. You're not the part of the company they should be competing against. It should be WWE's main roster, which, by the way, if they did face each other in a ratings grabber, I think people would be more in tune to catching AEW over Monday Night Raw. Just saying. Anyway, let's get into things. We kickstart the show with the first of the semifinals with the AEW Tag Team Championship Tournament with the Private Party versus the Lucha Brothers. Holy shit, was this an awesome way to start off the show. This was a great matchup, better than the second matchup that comes on after this, but that match wasn't bad nonetheless. But this match, ladies and gentlemen, was fantastic. It was the match of the night. These guys tore it up with each other. They beat the hell out of one another and did some really amazing moves. One of which I will give kudos to Private Party's calling Cassidy, I think his name is. Let me just check the name for... Yeah, Cassidy. He actually had a spot where he attacked both Rey Phoenix from the outside and attacked Pentagon Jr. inside the ring, simultaneously taking turns... Well, not simultaneously, but taking turns back and forth, attacking both of his opponents, while Quinn was outside kind of getting, back to his state of mind because he was a little stunned from some of the action that was going on inside the ring with that Rey Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. Produced on him and really beat the shit out of him. But at the end of the day, guys, this matchup was the match of the night. If you have not seen this episode, if you didn't get a chance to watch it, go back and watch it some way, somehow. If you DVR'd it, great. Go watch it immediately after you see this review. You will not be disappointed. quite frankly, I wouldn't recommend watching this review if you're interested in not getting spoilers, because that's what this show is about. Giving you the spoilers, giving you the information that happened on this event just recently. Quite frankly, though, this match was the best match of the night, hands down, no questions asked, and these two teams killed it. I'm surprised Private Party is not getting the World Championship run that they deserve. I really am. I thought the Private Party were going to win this, but nonetheless, come on, let's be real. This is Pentagon Jr., Rey Phoenix, two guys, the Lucha brothers, that have put on some great tag team wrestling in the last year and a half since they joined Impact Wrestling. And now they're in AEW on a bigger stage, and they're still producing great matchups. So, at the end of the day, I have no complaints with it. I just wish Private Party, at my heart of hearts, I wish Private Party would have won this tournament and became the tag team champions. But I will not be upset with the end result. The matchup was great. They made the Private Party look really well in this match despite the loss. And I have to admit, this crowd was into it from beginning to end the moment this match started. So kudos to everyone in this match. Rey Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. pick up the victory and advance on to the finals. We then immediately afterwards get a matchup with SCU versus the Dark Order. Dark Order, I'll be honest with you guys, put on the best match they have ever put on since their inception into the AEW brand. I really feel that they have put on a great matchup with these guys. They did just as much, or at least close to what the Lucha Brothers and Private Party did. But no cigar. They are not the match of the night. I'm not going to give them that much credit. But they were a fucking good match. I enjoyed this very much as well. These matches were fantastic tonight. Really, there wasn't a bad match on the card except for the maybe Brett Baker's match, which I'm a little disappointed in. I was supposedly hearing that she's a very good wrestler. Now, I'm not saying that her matches suck, but her opponents she's been facing have absolutely been a complete bore fest, most of them. So I haven't been impressed very much by a lot of women wrestling in AEW has not impressed me whatsoever. The women in WWE, again, I'm going to say it, is the better wrestling show. Now, I understand people might get on my case and say, what are you talking about? WWE with the women wrestling is a better show. I'm talking about the Four Horsewomen. They are the women's division. Anything more than that, beyond that, you're fucking crazy. They're the women wrestlers outside of that, except for maybe Amber Moon, Shayna Baszler, and the NXT roster of female wrestling. Those women are great, but on the main roster, it's just the Four Horsewomen. Nothing below them are any good. I'm just going to say that. Ruby Riott, yeah, she's pretty good, but she ain't utilized the way she should. Not to mention she's been injured for almost a year now. So, that's not here or there, I guess. But the second semifinals matchup for the tag team titles was a fantastic match. The right team won this. I feel that way full-heartedly because of the fact that Rey Phoenix and Pentagon Jr. took it upon themselves to attack the SCU before their match last week. So that's the reason why I feel that this is the right decision. It was predicted by even JD himself, 206 from New York, that they were going to win this matchup, and then SCU and Pentagon Jr. and Rey Phoenix would face the SCU in the finals, which I have to agree with. He was 100% right on that. So that's pretty much all there really has to be mentioned. A lot of great flips, a lot of good spots by both teams. One spot that was very memorable, one of the tag team partners on the Dark Order, which I was very impressed by, was, I think his name was Grayson? I think his name was Grayson, the bald-headed guy with the underwear trunks. He does a fucking amazing flip over the top rope, actually not over the top rope, but over the turnbuckle and the ring post, and nails a clean, picture-perfect, I guess you could say not a lion salt, but a senton over the top of the ring post onto the floor. Beautiful fucking move. Picture perfect. Didn't mess up, not botch one bit in that entire spot in performing that move on Frankie Kazarian. That was fucking unreal. So pretty much SCU ends up getting the pinfall in the 1, 2, 3, and that was pretty much it. They twist Grayson right into a big knee by Kazarian, and which is the see you later finishing tag team maneuver, and they got the 1, 2, 3 for the victory, and that was it. So great match, very entertaining matchup, no complaints whatsoever. Then they go to Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela. Now, this matchup was a good match. Again, another good match. Joey Janela looked very good in this match. He was in a wrestling style matchup. No hardcore, outrageous fucking maneuvers or using kendo sticks or tables with barbed wire attached to it. Nothing of the kind of that nature. Just strictly a good wrestling match that he performed beautifully. He did a fantastic job with Kenny Omega, and if he couldn't do a good match with Kenny Omega, he don't belong in the wrestling business. Because Kenny Omega could get anybody to a good match. Even a fucking poster could get to a good match with Kenny Omega performing with him in that match. So, just going a little out there, but you know what I mean. Kenny Omega is the shit of AEW and in professional wrestling in itself. If you don't believe me, go ask our pussy our pussy Universal Champion, Seth Rollins, who keeps going ahead and begging Kenny Omega for a matchup at WrestleMania, calling the AEW the minor leagues. Gee, Seth, did you take a good look at your match card for fucking Monday Night Raw and compare it to a 2-hour show of the minor leagues, AEW Dynamite? This show had a fucking card made from heaven. And you're going to say this is a minor leagues? Buddy, your money and your success has gone to your head way too much, to the point where people do not like you whatsoever. You are a fucking joke, and so is your company. So quit gargling on Vince McMahon's cock and balls and join reality, because AEW ain't the fucking minor leagues, pal. Sorry to say. Anyway, getting back to AEW, fuck WWE. AEW's Joey Janela performed beautifully in this match. He did everything he was supposed to do. Yes, he did lose, but he looked good in defeat. Again, these matches, the people that lose in these matches do not look bad. They do not look buried. They do not look like weak-ass fucking competitors. They just look like what they did. They lost. That's all. It's not like they went ahead and they didn't devalue any of the characters on the show, which is another great thing that AEW does. They make everyone look good, even in defeat. That's the neat part about this company that I like. And especially on this episode, they displayed that heavily. Nobody looked bad on this show. Not one. So, yeah, Kenny Omega, he picked up the victory. I believe they faced each other in AEW Dark, which is their dark matches, of course, shown on YouTube. Taz is actually as their commentator for that show. I hope he actually does some commentating on a pay-per-view. I really would love to see that. I think maybe Tony Schiavone and Taz together as a two-man commentator for the pay-per-views. I think would be outstanding idea for them to try to do. See how that works out. I'm pretty sure that they're going to stick with the 3-man commentating team, but I would really like them to go back to a 2-man commentating team, to be honest with you, in most of these promotions. I mean, SmackDown's the only show that has a 2-man commentating team, which is kind of weird. And it ain't that great either. So, moving forward here, we then get Cody Rhodes. Oh, this segment here was so beautiful. It reminded me of the Attitude Era. It reminded me of the Monday Night Wars, when there was competition going on in the middle of the convention stands, where people would stand there and gather around and watch right in front of their own eyes, face to face, the action going on in front of them. This is how it all broke down to end up like this. Cody Rhodes comes out. He gets Tony Schiavone to interview him in the middle of the ring. And he's trying to do the interview with Tony Schiavone, and Chris Jericho and the rest of the Inner Circle start blowing off air horns. Now, I don't know if this has ever been done, because I have never noticed this before or even been a witness to it, but Chris Jericho and the rest of the Inner Circle are blowing off air horns and interrupting this interview, causing a distraction and making Cody Rhodes extremely pissed off and feeling very disrespected, which is a great job by a heel. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, Cody goes off and goes on a tangent. Says, look, you want to disrespect me? I'm trying to do an interview here. Be respectful and stop being a bunch of ass clowns. Pretty much. He didn't say those exact words, but you get what I mean. Then Jericho gets on the microphone, calls Cody Rhodes a bunch of names, and Cody says, look, this ain't the other company that you and I worked in back in the day, whereas if we act like there's this invisible wall where I can't climb over the barricade and go up the freaking skybox and beat the shit out of you and the rest of your Inner Circle goons. So Jericho stops him for a moment while he gets ready to go up the ramp through the crowd, and he says, you stupid idiot. There's 4 of us and 1 of you. You're actually going to go up against 4 of us while you're by yourself? That makes no sense, which is very true. Why would he want to do that? Then Dustin Rhodes comes out. Then immediately following that is MJF, and the whole fucking crowd exploded when this happened. DDP. Music went off, and out comes Diamond Dallas Page. The crowd went nuts. I was shocked as well. I wonder if he's actually going to do a match at with this company. I hope he doesn't. He's not really... He's old, he's worn out, and he's retired. He doesn't need to be doing this shit no more. He's done everything he could do in professional wrestling. I mean, if you want to give him one more world title match, I guess, but I don't think that's going to go over well with the modern day audience. Maybe with the old folks that used to watch it, and people like myself, maybe it'll go over, but majority of people probably won't get behind it. But that's just me talking out of my ass. So yeah, once DDP comes out, MJF, Dustin Rhodes, and DDP, they come with Cody Rhodes up to the ramp, into the skybox, and Jericho and the rest of the Inner Circle go inside this door that has glass, and they lock the door to protect themselves. And MJF gives Cody Rhodes a scarf to wrap around his hand, and he punches a hole right through the glass, opens up the door, and they fight throughout the entire arena, and then go into where the concession stands are, where everybody gets their food, and walks through the hallways to get to their row to sit down for the event. And they're beating the shit out of each other. It was so freaking cool to watch. I really enjoyed watching this. Jericho is getting his face smushed into this table and whatnot. And after the whole thing was over, Cody Rhodes' team looked very strong against the Inner Circle. And Jericho goes, "Why would you do this to me? I'm a paid customer. I have a ticket. Why would you beat up a customer of yours while you're at this event?" Whatever. How dare you treat me this way? You disrespectful bitch. He goes off on a tangent, Jericho. He looks so fucking cool as shit. The rest of the Inner Circle look awesome as hell. I absolutely love this group. I love what they're doing with Cody. I hope he does not win the title. I don't think he needs to win that title yet. I think Jericho needs to hold on to it for a little while until they build up a young star, or have Kenny Omega be the person to win, because he hasn't had a big opportunity to really shine on a big stage, and AEW being that company, outside of New Japan Wrestling, Kenny Omega has never shined in a US branded promotion. So for him to win the AEW title, I think would probably be the best thing for them to do moving forward with the next champion. So I think Kenny Omega should be that guy. So that was pretty much the whole gist of that. I enjoyed that to hell. I really did. I loved it to death. Very good segment, and a lot of, Attitude Era type SK shit that they were doing here. And it was very entertaining watching them just brawl throughout the entire arena. So I thought that was pretty neat. The next match was the Best Friends versus Young Bucks. Again, another tag team match. They're kind of overkilling it. I will say this. They are overkilling it with the tag team wrestling. I mean, I love tag team wrestling. I think it's a dead art form thanks to Vince McMahon's WWE. Outside of NXT, but this is becoming a little overkill. 2 weeks in a row with tag team wrestling, I think is a little much. But granted, even though I'm against the idea of having tag team wrestling over and over and over again, this matchup was good. I gotta give them credit for that. The Best Friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta versus the Young Bucks, Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson. Good matchup, solid overall work by all men involved in this. Orange Cassidy also had a little bit of involvement in this match, which he's with the Best Friends. And he put on a hell of a fucking spot where he leaped off the top rope and used himself as a crash dummy onto, I think it was Nick Jackson, I believe. But at the end of the day, the Young Bucks did win because they hit more bang for your buck. And that's how the match ended. But overall, very good match. Entertaining shit. A lot of high-flying maneuvers. Crowd was into it from beginning to end, as always. This show had everything going for it. And I have no complaints whatsoever, especially this episode. This episode was probably the best wrestling I have seen since its inception. And that's saying much because the rest of the shows weren't bad wrestling either. But this is even elevated even more than it has in the past 3 weeks. So kudos to them. Great job. So Matt Jackson goes on the mic, by the way, and yells, "Santana Ortiz, we accept your challenge for a matchup at Full Gear." So now we have three build matches for this card that are majorly important. Santana and Ortiz versus the Young Bucks. Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega, and Jericho versus Cody Rhodes for the AEW World Championship. We got the fucking finals for the tag team titles with SCU and the Lucha Brothers. I mean, you got 4 really good matches. God knows what else they might put on here. They'll probably have a women's championship matchup. A couple other matches they'll just throw in there for fun and give us a really good, entertaining show for the other part of the show that hasn't been built up with those minor matches, though they'll probably add in they'll probably add in maybe 2 or 3 more matches just for the hell of it, and that'll pretty much be our match card. We should get like 6 or 7 matches with a 3-hour show, and that's basically it. I hope the show, Full Gear, doesn't go past 3 hours. I think that would be a little ridiculous. Britt Baker versus Jamie Hayter. This was nothing much of a matchup at all. Again, like I mentioned before, the crowd was kind of booing this matchup. They weren't really into this one. This was one bad match I did not enjoy watching. Kind of faded away from watching it. I was looking through my cell phone and shit like that. So they kind of fucked up with this match. But again, not everything's going to be a 5-star classic. It does have its ups, it does have its downs, but mostly it has its ups and very few downs. So, can't complain there. Britt Baker did win. She's adding up her wins, looking like she may have another chance at the AEW Women's Championship, but that's still yet to be confirmed. Britt Baker's really the only female wrestler right now that is being pushed very well compared to anybody else. Riho's is the only other woman wrestler that's done anything, and she's just the women's champion, and really hasn't done a lot of anything to become the champion. She just kind of got the right to face the another challenger for the women's championship and was crowned the first ever women's champion. We did have a segment, though, that went on backstage. Jamie Hayter goes to talk with Jen Decker about the loss, and Brandi Rhodes comes out of nowhere and shoves the hell out of Hayter. Jen says Brandi and touches her on the arm, and Brandi stares at her with a really angry look, almost wanting to attack Decker, and then heads off. This made no sense. This was one thing I have no fucking clue what the hell they were doing here. This seemed a little awkward and bizarre. Definitely a WWE type moment with no explanation, no build behind it, unless something I might have missed. But I don't remember Jamie Hayter or anything. Supposedly JR said this was her debut match. So I have no idea, unless there's real beef between these two women. They just want to bring it onto television to make it seem even more important, because when you have controversy, that creates cash and also can create success. Don't believe me, as Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. They had a lot of controversy in their storyline rivalry that was real in real life. So you can't debate that. I mean, there is success when you use real life rivalries. So, anyway, moving on to Pac and Jon Moxley. As I mentioned, this ended up being a draw because television time was over. By 9:59, there was not a winner. There was no winner in this match. Jon Moxley was extremely pissed off, attacked the referee, hit the Death Rider, and was saying into the camera, time out, or time limit my ass, kind of bullshit. He thought that was bullcrap. This kind of displays a little bit of a storyline of Jon Moxley's disapproval of time limits on matches. Now, this could play in a very big part in this whole situation. They could roll with this some more and expand on it, because in WWE, there is no time limits. They don't have time limits in WWE. They never mention time limits, at least. And this is a really great little thing they could play with, push even more, maybe get Jon Moxley up against AEW's rules and regulations and what they do and how they do things with these matches and so forth. And kind of expand on that a little bit more. I don't know if they're going to. I mean, they could. I think they should, really, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, I think the ending of this match was perfect. I mean, it was a draw. I wanted to see somebody win, but, excuse me. But Pac ending up not losing, this being a draw for both men and nobody suffering a loss, I think it was a smart decision also as well. If you really look past the wins and losses and you want to protect these two guys, what better way to do that than have a draw? Not also does this mean that you'll see these two guys compete again later on, but this match can be used, this whole situation that happened could be used for a future match on a pay-per-view. I don't know when their next pay-per-view is after Full Gear, but this could be a great opportunity for them to expand with these two guys facing each other in a big pay-per-view like feel. So I think they got a great opportunity with this because they did a great job ending it the way they did. So this left a little bit of controversy. People were a little upset somewhat. People were also happy about the match itself. Overall, I don't think anybody got screwed here. This was the right call, the right decision, I feel, because Pac is a guy that needs to be pushed in the world title picture at some point. He's already been hinting that he wants a world championship opportunity. He believes that he should. And Jon Moxley is definitely a guy that's going to get a world title opportunity later on, at least in the next few months. I mean, quite frankly. I think Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley's matchup should be a number one contenders match to determine who will get the opportunity to face Chris Jericho in the future for a pay-per-view match for the world title. I think that's what this matchup should play into. Now, granted, I wouldn't throw that out there right off the bat. I wouldn't even mention anything about it. I'd just go ahead and bring it up on television the next Wednesday, following that Wednesday, and kind of just come out and say the winner of the Jon Moxley, Kenny Omega, whoever it might be, to initially state that that winner is the next opponent for Chris Jericho's World Championship. Personally, I feel that Chris Jericho's next opponent should be Kenny Omega. Now, if this pay-per-view is being pushed a couple of months back and they're not having an immediate pay-per-view the next month, then I would go with Jon Moxley and have Jericho retain the title against Jon Moxley in this situation. But if you got a couple of months to build towards Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, this is a great opportunity to give Kenny Omega the world title at the pay-per-view after a couple of months of building this pay-per-view matchup. That's how I would do it. So, at this point, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say on this episode. Fantastic show. Very entertaining stuff. Every time I watch this show, I want to go back and watch it again, but I just don't have the time to do it because I have so much other things to do in my life. But if I had spare time, I would definitely go back and watch these episodes. They're fucking fantastic. And whenever AEW has their own streaming service, I am most definitely getting that son of a bitch. Most definitely getting that subscription for AEW. I mean, to the point where if it's a decision between keeping WWE Network or getting AEW and having to get rid of WWE Network, I will get rid of the WWE Network in a fucking heartbeat. In the snap of my fingers, I will get rid of the WWE Network because they don't provide wrestling. They don't provide anything but misery and boredom. This show provides entertainment to the max. This is a fucking great show. If you do not like AEW, there is something wrong with you. Like Corey Graves used to say, check your pulse. This show is fucking great. Anyway, leave a comment down below. Hit the like button if you liked the video, and hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. And I thank you very much for watching, and have a great night, guys. Bye.